prayers, begging his Supreme Lord Krishna to come and attract people back to the joy of spiritual life. For more than a year, Advaitacharya prayed, crying out and worshiping him in the form of Shalagram Shila with Tulsi leaves and Ganges water. Then, during a total eclipse of the moon, his prayers were answered when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born here on the planet Earth. Upon Lord Chaitanya's appearance, Advaitacharya was the first to proclaim Nimai to be God himself, appearing here on earth by saying, Namo Brahmanyaya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. I offer my obeisances to Lord Krishna, the well-wisher of the cows, the Brahmins, and the entire human society. It's from the Vishnu Purana. His choice of this particular verse is very significant. Advaitacharya announced Lord Krishna's appearance as Lord Chaitanya by citing Krishna's special characteristics as the well-wisher of the cows, the Brahmins, and all of human society. But where to reliably find the joy Advaitacharya sought for society in general? The bull is the emblem of the moral principle, and the cow is the representative of the earth. When the bull and the cow are in a joyful mood, it is to be understood that the people of the world are also in a joyful mood. The reason is that the bull helps the production of grains in the agricultural field, and the cow delivers milk, the miracle of aggregate food values. Human society, therefore, maintains these two important animals very carefully so that they can wander everywhere in cheerfulness. So here, we're actually seeing a tie between joy of the cow, the joy of human society, and the joy of the bull, and the production of grains and cow's milk. If we think about it, without nice foodstuffs, everything else goes to naught. It won't be long before we leave our bodies. So it's a fundamental point in terms of having joy. Or is this a realistic future? Maybe it's not going to play, but that's okay. You get the idea. The idiocy of such robots harvesting in an ancient manner is nicely portrayed here. What kind of future will have the necessary heavy mining, technical manufacturing, and cyber capabilities to stand up such a workforce and then put them to work in this way? This reminds me of the special period in Cuba after the Soviet Union stopped trading tractors, fertilizer, and petroleum products for sugar and tobacco. A crisis ensued. As the tractors ground to a halt, they actually made it illegal to kill a cow, realizing that oxen were their only hope for feeding the population in the near future. Well, we may find ourselves in the near future in a similar situation. Hard to say. Despite all endeavors for peace and prosperity, they must try to see the cows and the bulls happy in all respects. Foolish people do not know how one earns happiness by making the cows and bulls happy, but it is a fact by the law of nature. Let us take it from the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam and adopt the principles for the total happiness of human society. O Partha, in the three planetary systems, this earth is especially fortunate, for on earth is the town of Vrindavan. And there, the gopis are especially glorious, because among them is my Srimati Radharani. Here on the Earth planet, which is composed of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, of all places in the universe, is this rural village of Vrindavan found. Here, Krishna is caring for his dearmost friends, the cows. Only in Vrindavan, a village of cowherd families, is Krishna engaging in loving pastimes with Srimati Radharani. And only here, by the example of the gopis serving her, can we learn the ultimate happiness of transcendental mellows by facilitating these pastimes. Cow protection is the business of the Vaishyas, and along with our preaching, this is the most important work. We must have a good section of Brahmins in our society, and we must also have a good group of Vaishyas who can grow grains and tend cows, and thus supply the society with food grains and milk products from the cow, like ghee, curd, cream, etc. Therefore, from all considerations, especially cow protection, must be there. That is the duty of the Vaishyas. Krishi Goraksha Dhaniyam. In his early preaching career, on May 20, 1956, Srila Prabhupada wrote in Back to Godhead magazine, pure ghee offered on the fire of yajna produces more and more ghee. So, what is the nature of this sacrifice for the Vaishyas? Srila Prabhupada elaborates. But non-acceptance of such sacrificial rites under the plea of non-productive economy drives away completely the production of ample pure ghee, resulting or yielding place to the harmful hydrogenated vegetable oils. In the Ayurvedic scriptures, oil is particularly mentioned to be harmful for the stomach, but in the absence of sacrificial energy of the human being, he is forced to accept harmful vegetable oil for the stomach in the name of an absence of pure, unadulterated, clarified butter. That is the importance of the process of yajna, and that is the law of nature. Here, Srila Prabhupada is excoriating farmers who, on the plea, she wrote it down. We can repeat that. Srila Prabhupada is excoriating farmers who, on the plea of reducing costs and simplifying farming methods, reject proper cow care. For Vaishyas, yajnas include the proper care in feeding the soil microbes, the grasses, shrubs, and trees, along with the cows, calves, and bulls, as well as every other member of the local community. So naturally, without this sacrifice to take nice care of all these living entities by the Vaishyas, we're not going to have ghee, which the Brahmins use for fire sacrifices. Robust agricultural production utilizing photosynthetic energy captured directly from the sun by green plants, locally grown in dung fertilized soil, and harvested in a partnership honoring the cows and oxen is the only practical, ecologically sustainable, multi-generational scale economic and social base. This agrarian-based lifestyle, reinforced by the naturally manifesting, mutually supportive community relationships of the Varnashram Dharma social system, offers the unique benefit amongst all other forms of social organization, the opportunity under the guidance of qualified Brahmins for spiritual advancement for every member of any local town participating wholeheartedly in this lifestyle, no matter their station in life. And yet, Vaishya's farm duties tend to be dilatory. So here's a little class about that word, dilatory. Oxford English Dictionary defines that word as delaying or causing delay, and Cambridge Dictionary calls it slow and likely to cause delay. So in the context of farming, duties routinely subject to the pressing practical demands of living on the land, trade, and community management, driven by the weather, cow care, planting, and harvest imperatives, available staff, and so on and on. So the Vaishya's farm duties tend to be dilatory. Bhakti Vinod addresses this challenge. The observance of Varnashram Dharma is not the sole business of the jiva, of course. Therefore, with the assistance of Varnashram Dharma, one must cultivate pure devotional service. The purpose of the Varnashram institution is to facilitate the practice of devotional service. The question may arise that, since the practice of Varnashram is a dilatory affair, what will one's duty be if a conflict arises with one's devotional practice? Sure, many folks that live here face this. Bhaktivinoda answers his own question. The answer is that if one does not maintain and nourish the healthy condition of the body, mind, society, and the pursuit of self-realization, how will it be possible to cultivate the higher endeavor, devotional service? If abandoning the Varnashram as institution, one acts independently, then the demands of the body and mind will cause one to become intoxicated with material desire, and no sign of devotion will manifest itself. Remember in Bhagavad Gita 4:13, Chatur Varnyan Mayashishtam, unless in human society the Varnashram system is introduced, no scheme or social order, health order, or any other order, political order will be successful. Srila Prabhupada quoted this verse in Vrindavan on October 18, 1977. Note here, Srila Bhaktivinoda implicitly acknowledges that the personal and societal nourishment inherent in the practice of Varnashram is simultaneously a necessary prerequisite to devotional service and an antidote to intoxication by Krishna's separated material energies. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you perform, should be done as an offering unto me. It is therefore recommended in the scriptures that everyone offer all their mundane activities to the Supreme Lord in one way or the other. Such offering of activity enables one to attain the perfection of all religion. It's quoting Srila Jiva Goswami. During Srila Prabhupada's final days with us, he confirms the essential role of the Varnashram social system will play in salvation for the residents of the earth. Abhiram Prabhu comments, I was present on 2 occasions when Srila Prabhupada spoke about how important establishing Varnashram was to him. Both times were in the summer of 1977 in Prabhupada's room in Vrindavan. Prabhupada said, I have not established Varnashram. 50% of my work is not complete because I have not established Varnashram. Hare Krishna Devi Dasi had this realization about her apparently mundane farm duties. When I milked the cows at Gita Nagari, I had to leave for the barn halfway through the morning class, long before breakfast. After milking, I would clean up the barn. It was wonderful work, more physically demanding than anything I had ever done in my life, but it was great. Then I would go into the temple and pay obeisances to the sweet and peaceful deities of Sri Sri Radha Damodar. Krishna would be leaning on a stick, playing his flute. Sometimes he carried a buffalo horn to call the cows, and sometimes he carried a rope to tie their legs. I began to understand that these items were not merely decorations. They were things Krishna uses to take care of the cows. Cows need music to be peaceful. Sometimes they kick when you milk them, so you have to be prepared. You have to call them in to milk them, and you need a good stick for herding them. By taking care of the cows, I had obtained what was for me an intimate view of the Lord. My Lord, you are the well-wisher of the cows and the Brahmins. For the cowherdmen and the cows, Krishna is the supreme friend. Therefore, he is worshipped by the prayer, Namo Brahmanyaya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. His pastimes in Gokula, his dham, always favorable to the Brahmins and the cows. His first business is to give all comfort to the cows and the Brahmins. In fact, comfort to the Brahmins is secondary, and comfort for the cows is his first concern. This town life, industrial life, factory life is asuric life. It is killing the human civilization. It is killing civilization. In order to treat, this is from the conception of Gita Nagari, Srila Prabhupada wrote in 1956. In order to treat the heart diseases of the asuras, transcendental hospitals have to be opened at Gita Nagari, apart from the ordinary hospitals that are run everywhere. These hospitals shall treat the asuric patients with respect to their education, initiation, knowledge, and transcendental science, eating, enjoying, and treatment of diseases altogether. That will be the special function of the Gita Nagari. The governing body shall remain vigilant on the point that nobody can enter into the town with some ulterior motive outside the service of Parthasarati. All facilities, however, shall be offered to real, inquisitive, and sincere souls who shall endeavor to profit by such facilities for transcendental life. Let them engage in kirtan. There will be more water for gardening, and it will be moist, and then produce fodder for the animals and food for you. The animal gives you milk. That is Vrindavan life. And they are absorbed in this so-called opulence. Important point. When one is absorbed, you're not really thinking of anything else. Krishna has taken birth. They are bringing so many nice, pleasant foodstuff, coming very well dressed and ornamented. These are description. In the morning, we were reading how they were happy, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, with Krishna and living and cows. That I want to introduce. Very crude, unsophisticated, but intense love for Krishna. That is Vrindavan. We want to introduce. This farm project means intense love for Krishna. This civilization we want to introduce. Farm, 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 farm. That is not my program, Krishna's program. Do it at any cost. If you really want to honor someone, don't just build some statue or memorial building. The most potent way to honor someone is to build a community that exemplifies the values that person taught. Purushottama Chaitya prays for inspiration to understand and develop the practical tools necessary to implement Srila Prabhupada's agrarian vision of community, thereby offering the opportunity of salvation to every citizen of the earth. So this image in the background is from a project put together by Astotara Satadas, who's Hare Krishna Devi Dasi's son, who grew up here at Gita Nagari. This was a harvest in 2008 in a village called Luvungi, which is in the southeast corner of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This project is extraordinary. Asta went there as part of a college, not a program, but more he was writing a kind of a thesis. And his advisor, who had worked extensively in Africa, he consulted, and they decided that a good place to try out some of the ideas that Asta had, that he imbibed from Srila Prabhupada, would be in a location that people were in desperate situation. There was a more than 50-year-long civil war going on in this area, and at this point in time when Asta showed up, there were virtually no young men in the community. They were all at war, and they weren't like fighting for the government. They were fighting as hired guns for the various factions that were warring over natural resources, in particular. Very near to this Luvungi is a very large national forest, and within that forest, under the ground, there's some rare metals that are not found very much anywhere else on the planet. Excuse me. And the mining interests, the companies that wanted to dig these rare metals up, were challenged only by the small number of people whose job it was to protect this forest, which was the home of one of two places where mountain gorillas live. That's it. So all this fighting is going on, and these young men from this village and others nearby, um, it was their only the village's only source of income is to have these mercenary soldiers out there getting paid by these corporations to try to get access to these rare minerals. So Asta went there with the idea that, as I said, this is a location where people are desperate. Uh, Once he got there, he noticed that there were no rodents. So he asked the the I guess you might call him the king of this town of Lavungi. So why are there no rodents? He said, well, you know, look at our agricultural land. It's a war zone. Look at the situation. We have no regular irrigation. We can't. We're subsistence farmers and we can barely make a living. We're eating the rodents. So why are there no snakes? Why don't you eat the snakes? Well, we ate snakes. There's nothing left. And so he said, well, I can help you if you can help me. Let's see if we can work together. So the king said, all right, I have this building. It's out in this land where we're not using it anyway. The roof is gone. If you can use it, great. You can have a little plot of land out there, a few acres, and you can give it a try. So he went out there, saw this decrepit building that was literally uh, an adobe building. The roof had caved in, long gone. The thatch was gone. The adobe was beginning to be washed away by the weather. And he said, okay. And so the first thing he did was to, make the building functional by inviting some of the villagers to come and help him to put it back together. And then he advertised amongst in the village that he would pay $1 a day for able-bodied labor. And so on the appointed day, he expected 10 or 15 people to show up. Practically, the whole village showed up. We had 100 people out there in front of his shack. So he kind of had to figure out, well, what am I going to do? I can't afford to hire everyone. So he picked out what looked like the strongest young men and engaged them, developed a garden, and he realized that, okay, well, I don't know anything about gardening. I don't know anything about growing stuff. So he asked, if anybody knows anybody that actually has expertise. And they said, well, there's this one person who used to be the boyfriend of this girl that lived in our community. We don't know where he's gone. He was expert. So word got around that he was looking for this particular gentleman. And the gentleman came and introduced himself and heard what Asta was trying to do. And he said, well, I can help. So in the course of the conversation, Asta learned that this was kind of no ordinary farmer. He had a college degree in agronomy and was responsible for all of the United Nations agronomy efforts in the whole continent of Africa. He said, I'll do it for free. So he quit his job and went to work with Asta. And as time went by, they developed more and more projects. They brought engineers who reconstituted what was an extensive irrigation system in that region that had been there in place prior to the war. And then with that water and the dams that they built, they had sufficient adequate water year round to be able to grow crops. And after some time, what happened is that the young men realized, well, this is a better lifestyle than the one I have. I'm going to stop being a soldier and come home and actually do farming. So they came back, and after Costa was there about 8 years. After 8 years, they had developed so much land and such a nice agricultural program that the surrounding villages in that region saw what was going on and they started to copy what they were doing. And then near the end of Asta's involvement in this project, he wanted to introduce oxen. So, he an entire region. So that's all I have to say. Any questions? We only have a few minutes left, I see. Yes.
This auspicious day of Advaita Acharya, are we able to call Astasara Shatta to come back to his place where he grew up? To look at the fry, more thriving.
Well, as a matter of fact, he's purchased land in rural Maine, and he's raising a family there. He has two small children and his wife, and his mother lives nearby, but not in the rural area. He's trying to do a completely uh, subsistence level living situation there. So I don't think he's ready to come back to Gita Nagari. He was here for the Varnashram conference, I believe, a few years ago. And or actually maybe it was the IMCPA conference in New Vrindavan. He came to speak at that conference. Yes.
So, like, this is such a nice program they developed there. It was kind of out of desperation and necessity. And I think, yeah, it's sometimes hard to have that level of determination and focus when like things in the States are pretty okay now. We have a food bank. So how can we because we know it's coming.
Yeah.
So I mean, how can we inspire and inspire others to kind of?
Well, that's an excellent question. Thought about that a lot. Honestly, I don't have an answer that feels satisfying, but my perception is that I'll say if and probably when the greater society begins to degenerate to the point where we we simply can't carry on with the kind of power that we're using now. Bottom line, uh, be it electricity or whatever, uh, diesel fuel, gasoline, uh, fertilizer from petroleum products, long distance transportation at a whatever that costs. Um, when when we don't have that power, we're going to have to face the situation that okay, we have to do this. Just like I mentioned in Cuba, in the special period there, which lasted about 10 years before they got back on their feet. They they were forced. They had to make a change. That's why they did that extraordinary thing. They had Raul Castro, Fidel's brother. He had studied this to some extent, and he realized that we have to do something, and the only thing we can do, the only power that we're going to have, as soon as we stop. They don't have any significant oil reserves in Cuba, meaning they were getting that all as an import from the Soviet Union. When that went away, which was practically in the course of less than a year, they realized, okay, we have to do something. Well, ox power. So how do we get oxen? We need, cows, and we need to get them pregnant and have, young calves, and 50% of those are going to be male, and we're going to teach them how to be, how to work in the fields. That's going to take a few years. But what they did is they said, okay, it's now illegal to kill a cow. We can't kill any cows because we need those animals. So in a very short period of time, they got those oxen working in the fields, and they were actually able to feed themselves. Yes.
Um, Rather, okay, besides the desperation, scarcity, and collapse, um, I don't think that was the situation Advaitacharya was praying. It was just simply that he saw people were very materialistic and left the spiritual side, and that was 1,000 plus years ago. And he prayed in an incarnation itself to get much more powerful prayer.
Right.
And he didn't pray for for avatar. I mean, he did, but he was specific. He said a regular incarnation moment. That was actually a Advaitacharya's prayer. He said it has to do with special. So nowadays, with the proliferation of uh, materialism, even among those who are call themselves religious, we're going to need, if they need a Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are we going to need nowadays? So are we basically waiting until the society collapses, or we should start praying for another special incarnation, which is not scheduled, by the way. The next one, between Chaitanya
Check my calendar.
and between Chaitanya and country, there's no schedule of incarnations.
Well, there is the Sankirtan, chanting the holy name. That's what Prabhupada said right here. I went over earlier. That okay, so we chant Hare Krishna and farm. That's all we need. That's telling me that it's noon, and I have an appointment in 5 minutes over at my place. So we're going to have to. Jai Shri Shri Radha. That's how we can move it forward. One of this. I think that's time to upgrade. Laptop. It's only 10 years old. There's 14 times fly ahead on this thing. That's because sure. Thank you for helping. That is fun.
Namaste, Narachivana, Namaste, 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 Narachivana, Pranam,
Thank you for the Thank you very much. Gradually moving to the law, to the language technologies, started 1 o'clock, minutes ago. I feel more listeners today, proceed. First of all, we go through the sliding through the roofs, before you go to the law. This chant is so mantra. No, let's see. And then, next week, we started trying to see some websites, we have new meetings, there'll be more awareness, more reports, more very exciting. Another place that I want to make is very texted on the connection with just in those university, is something like this. There's the main program, and government states for mindful learning, and then becomes the house for refugees of the door, for us talking about the bodies. To part of design life for 2 years, it's very easy way to get a visa, the people can have it for laws and work continues. So there are interested devotees coming in the state, start templates, and including this number. The organizations cannot be sponsored, such as potentially devotees as well. It only can physical. And it's actually not so difficult. I know a few devotees will be sponsors and go to the devotees come. So if you would be interested in some of the devotees, some of the community family, temporary, feel close to explain about the forward it's not so difficult, and it's really without the one. It's very that's not an answer. Yes. You're pretty live in the house. That's what but of course, they say behind in years. If they commit a crime, those who sponsor them responsible. Yeah, that's just not like directly responsible, but we are just taking this to anybody. We made the due diligence of that person. Because of it. For example, right now there's in Long Island, there's some of the court cases, capitalization is just had from Harvard University. They have to go what engineering job, what mineralogy or something. So what is this? We're looking for devotees, who needs that help. It will be something. So global potential, but our movie is based on love and trust, but of course we do this also. Any other announcements? Yes, suddenly.
Still seeking volunteers to make preps for getting on the trails.
We're still seeking for volunteers to us meeting.
The sign up list is pinned to the top of the connections.
Please use spreadsheet. And Saturday, please order. On Saturday, there's an evening program.
Saturday evening program?
No?
Yeah, it's at 2 o'clock. So this weekend is here, And then the 24th is at our place. It's at 2, but you sort of my insisted that I call it Saturday evening.
Oh. Oh, I see.
What's Saturday?
Saturday. All right.
It's coming.
Long. We'll keep you updated how the kitchen renovations are. The main thing is sinks. Once the sinks arrive, then we'll be done. That's the whole of it. Yeah, that's the nice thing. We'll have to do about 50 minutes of the work. Because we expect more guests. And then this is the first. So thank you very much.